Welcome back into another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about some legitimate possibilities for the Chapter 22 killer in Dead by Daylight. Based on our last theory, we're expecting to see a killer from German folklore. There are some iconic possibilities, some of which are possible as original chapters. How's it going, everyone? My name is Schmuckles. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I also stream on Twitch on Wednesday and Sunday nights. The link for that is in the description below. In our last video, we talked about why the next chapter will almost certainly be original and why we think the next chapter is going to be a killer from German folklore. If you want to know why we're speculating a German killer, definitely make sure and check out that last video. Since that video, I've done some research and I found some legitimate possibilities for the Chapter 22 killer. When I looked online, I found some fan-made German killer concepts from people who had watched my previous speculation video. There's a pretty famous pirate killer from German folklore. His backstory could be used as inspiration for an original pirate chapter. There's also been talk of a German witch coming to DBD, although it's seeming more and more likely that the new survivor will be a witch or a psychic of some kind. Just to get everyone up to speed, we speculated a German killer because of the creation of the Dead by Daylight Germany Twitter page. After DBD Korea and DBD Japan, we saw original killers from each of those folklores. We went into more detail in the previous video, but I'm not going to repeat that information here. If you want to see that video, you can click on the title above. One of the most iconic possibilities is Nosferatu. Nosferatu is the original, unauthorized, unofficial adaptation of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula from 1897. This classic film was a low-budget film made by Germans for a German audience. It was set in Germany with German-named characters, making it more tangible and immediate for German-speaking viewers. The screenwriter disguised most of the references to the original novel, changing all of the characters' names in the film's title to Nosferatu. This Nosferatu film became known as an influential masterpiece of cinema. Nosferatu is widely considered to be public domain. Public domain means that a creative work is not protected by copyright and can be used without permission. A lot of Behavior's original chapters are going to be from public domain folklore or based on this folklore. In regards to Nosferatu, I've seen mixed sources on all this. Apparently, Nosferatu is public domain in the US, but there's some confusion whether it's public domain in Germany or not. According to Wikimedia Commons, Nosferatu is still under copyright in Germany until at least 2028. In Germany, copyright lasts 70 years after the author passes away, and then it expires and enters the public domain. Well, the director of Nosferatu passed away in 1931, and the co-founder of the studio that produced Nosferatu passed away in 1971. So I'm not sure how long Nosferatu would be under copyright in Germany, if he even is at all. A lot of people online think that Nosferatu is public domain because the director passed away 90 years ago. Nobody really knows for sure because all the websites I found had servers out of the US and didn't know about German copyright. If Behavior was somehow able to make an original version of Nosferatu that's somehow able to avoid all of this copyright, they could tap into Nosferatu's German origins as part of his backstory. Even though Nosferatu the character is from Romania, Behavior could develop an original German vampire lore that closely resembles Nosferatu's backstory. This would be a way to combine our vampire theory with an iconic German vampire. This seems pretty plausible, especially since Dracula and Nosferatu were not listed as licenses on the satisfaction survey. If you haven't seen that video where we talked about every licensed killer on Behavior's radar, you can click on the title above. Since that survey was done in April 2021, it's possible that Behavior didn't list a classic vampire license because they already had an original vampire chapter planned. Another iconic possibility that makes sense with our German killer theory is a character from German folklore called DeGrossman. I may have mispronounced that because I don't know any German. This killer is also known as the Tall Man. It's a mythological creature associated with woodcuts carved by an unknown artist in 16th century Germany. The pictures I found of these carved woodcuts have super close resemblance to Slenderman. These drawings were captioned in German, and when translated, it read "Never enter into its forest." A lot of people think that the Slenderman creator Victor Surge based Slenderman off of this iconic German creature. However, Surge has not confirmed that Slenderman was inspired by DeGrossman, so this made me wonder if Behavior could license the Tall Man as an original chapter. Slenderman is definitely copyrighted. If you want to know more about that, you can click on the title above. So I asked this question online to see if I could get answers. Is DeGrossman the German folklore inspiration for Slenderman in the public domain? David Mullich responded, DeGrossman is a story written on the creepypasta website by a something awful user named Thoreau Up about a mythological creature from 16th century Germany. Thoreau Up would be the copyright owner of that story since he is the author. And this answer seems pretty credible since David is a video game designer and producer that has developed projects for Activision, Disney, and Electronic Arts. So this tells us that there are three Slender-like creatures: Slenderman, DeGrossman, and the 16th century carved woodcuts of a German mythological creature. I wondered if Behavior could make a version of the folklore creature and call it the tall man and give it its own original German backstory and lore. This might be a way to bring in what some people might consider to be an original version of Slenderman. Similar to how Behavior licensed the Ghostface mask through Funworld and not Paramount to bring in Ghostface into DBD, they could bring in their own version of Slenderman via this mythological creature without going through the creator of Slenderman or DeGrossman. They could adapt this creature, which I'm just going to call the tall man, to be able to touch its victims. I did some research to see if this would even be a possibility. Like, is that German 16th century creature even public domain? I read an academic research paper from Mitchell Hamline School of Law. When a character appears in a series of works over time, inevitably at some point the earliest of the works will enter the public domain while others remain protected by copyright. In this situation, a character can exist in 2 or more incarnations, some of which may enter the public domain while others remain protected. To me, this answers our question. Even if Slenderman and DeGrossman are both copyrighted, surely the 16th century mythological creature that looks a lot like Slenderman is public domain. I feel like this legal loophole might be a way for Behavior to bring in their own version of Slenderman into Dead by Daylight. Slenderman wasn't listed on the satisfaction survey. It's possible that Behavior decided that Slenderman doesn't fit into DBD because he doesn't touch any of his victims. In addition to that, if they weren't able to get the Slenderman license, they might be planning an original version of Slenderman for Dead by Daylight. They definitely would have already had an idea what chapter 22 was looking like when the satisfaction survey was released in April 2021. The third possibility I wanted to talk about for chapter 22 is the Werewolf of Morbach. I don't know any German, so I might have mispronounced that. This is an iconic werewolf that comes from German folklore. A werewolf definitely has to be on our list because it's one of the most iconic creatures from folklore, period. I've seen a lot of bipedal versions of this werewolf, which has reminded me of the Demogorgon because they found a way to make a creature that moves on 4 legs bipedal. At the very least, there have been some references to wolves in the tome cutscenes that may have been foreshadowing an upcoming werewolf chapter. Obviously, a werewolf is public domain, and this version of a werewolf is an iconic piece of German folklore. Those are my predictions for what's possible for chapter 22. We probably won't get any information until the teasers come out. Chapter 22 will most likely be released on the PTB sometime in mid-November. We'll definitely post more videos as more information comes out for chapter 22. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.